Thanks everybody for attending the Autodesk new estimating solution with Cadgroup CAD Pro. My name is Eric Solcott, Vice President of Construction, and for those who've met me, we work closely with Autodesk customers in supporting a variety of different Autodesk products. Today's all about the pre-construction solution recently released within Autodesk Construction Cloud. I've got my colleague Nathan Gordon. He's our lead consultant and ProS specialist moving into pre-construction, and he's going to help in presenting the new product today. For those of you who are unaware, Cadgroup and CAD Pro have merged, and now we are strength to strength across the Tasman. So we're very excited to be working with our New Zealand partners and supporting the pre-construction discussion. All right, so one of the things that Cadgroup and CAD Pro really pride ourselves on is having an understanding of industry and being able to connect multiple workflows from design through to estimating, project management, and finance, using Autodesk Construction Cloud with other leading products, enabling customers to connect those workflows and get the best value out of a connected solution. Our focus today, agenda, relates around the introduction to Autodesk estimating. So for those of you who are new to this conversation, Autodesk has recently released the pre-construction solution within Autodesk Construction Cloud. Historically, the estimating solution has worked through the ProS product that Autodesk acquired back in December 2022. And we're going to go through an introduction of the entire solution and just give you a general framework of what Autodesk has to offer today. We're also going to go through how the product centralizes 2D and 3D takeoffs and look at how that is moving estimating and quantification and supporting the details of labor rates, equipment costs, material costs, and eventually making it over to the construction management, cost management, ACC build for those customers that do have that end of the product. We're going to go ahead and have a Q&A session, which we're really excited to get feedback from this cohort and just see what you guys think and what we can help you with. Just a little bit of housekeeping. There is a Q&A section within Teams, so anything you can think of as we present, just drop it in there, and then I'll go through that, and we'll go through a question and answer session towards the end of the webinar. And finally, what I want to do is look at what a potential overall solution looks like. So if you connect the dots of estimating into other ends of your construction business, how would that look, and what we're seeing in market, what Cadgroup is currently working with on a few of our clients. Okay, so for those of you that are familiar with the product ProS, you're probably familiar with a change in licensing of November last year, where Autodesk brought out the pre-construction bundle, a pre-construction solution, which enabled ProS customers to have access to Takeoff, ACC Takeoff, Building Connected, which is a subcontract management product, and Autodesk Docs. That is, the Autodesk Docs and Takeoffs are in the centralized Autodesk Construction Cloud platform. And as time goes on, they're merging their tendering products, Building Connected and TradeTap, into the subcontract management side of things and pulling that all into a unified platform. ProS is a standalone product. It will remain a standalone product. And for those customers that are using ProS, looking at ways of getting information in and out of ProS and complementing the way Autodesk Cloud is providing takeoff solutions, as an example. These are all things that we're working on with customers going into next year. Okay, so the big change is with the acquisition of ProS in December of 2022, Autodesk had a vision to move into the pre-construction space and connect design, quantification, pre-construction, estimating, and project management, cost management in a single platform. It's been a long time coming, right? We've all been waiting for this. our team particularly has been spending about close to 3 years preparing for this event, and now they've released the Autodesk estimating product. Autodesk Takeoff has been in product for many years, but now we have a new estimating product, which is closely getting aligned to the ProEst estimating suite that many of you know today. So everything that relates to pre-construction includes takeoff, quantification, cost estimating, bid management, and subcontractor qualification. We're going to focus on the takeoff and estimating side today, but we're surely going to have further follow-ups in pre-construction, particularly tender management, as we go into 2026. All right, so I think, Nathan, I want to turn it over to you. We want to be able to go through and give an overview of what the pre-construction solution is, and then go into kind of some of those agenda points and see what kind of questions we can get out of the attendees and support them where we can.
Great, thanks, Eric. I will share my screen, and here we are. So, hi everybody, I'm Nathan, as Eric just introduced me. I'm the pre-construction implementation consultant here. So we'll jump straight into it. What we're looking at here, for those that aren't aware, this is just the home page of the Autodesk Construction Cloud. So this gives us a nice overview of all our projects, everything I've last touched, any bookmarks I may have, and so on. This will be the start of all your estimating processes. All projects will start from here. As we can see, a list of projects, and we can move on from here. I am going to quickly just touch on the docs and the subcontracting tools that Eric mentioned just before, just to give you a full picture of everything within the pre-construction bundle. So docs is the central piece to the product. As we got the product picker on the left, so we can see how big the Autodesk Construction Cloud is and all the kind of different elements of the construction phase it touches. So from doc design management all the way through to the cost management. And obviously today we're going to be focusing on this pre-construction bundle. So just a quick overview of docs that gives us the ability to have a folder structure, allows us to keep all our documents in one central location that anybody attached with the project can access. There's a whole lot of permissions and other options behind these that allow only the people that need to see those files see them, and those that don't need to see them can't access them. So this tool is central. This touches not only the takeoff and the estimating, but it goes through the build phase, it goes through the design phase, it goes through the subcontractor management phase. So these files you will see throughout the whole software. Across to the subcontracting side, one of our offerings is an application called TradeTap. This is a subcontractor qualification tool. In short, we can create a questionnaire that we can send out to potential sub-clients, asking them for all their financial information, their safety, insurance, and so on. And that gives us a nice little, a bunch of metrics we can use to determine if we want to move forward with this subcontractor or not. Moving forward along with that, we pair that with a program or an application called Building Connected currently. It is being consumed into the ACC environment and you'll probably see that on my screen when I get into it. It's being called bidding within the ACC environment, but currently it sits out here as Building Connected. This is all linked to docs, as I said before. So here's docs, here's those docs specifically for this project, and only this flooring trade package can access these particular documents. So we're keeping our packages that I'm going to touch on soon all separate for the truds, for the separate trades. And basically we ask them to, here's all my price, all my line items for my flooring from the estimate that you're about to see. And I'm just asking my subcontractor to provide me a price for all those items. If you're interested in any of those products, feel free to reach out and we can demonstrate, talk about that, whatever you need to see. But today's focus will be on the estimating, so I'm not going to spend any more time here. And I'm going to jump straight across over into the 2D takeoff section. So 2D takeoff, when this loads, for those that aren't familiar, it's just take off, click and point, and it gives you your measurements is the end goal essentially. So this one is one I've created in ACC Takeoff. This I have created a flooring package. As you can see, I have a few different packages here. So you can break out your estimates and your takeoffs by trades or however you like to do it. I've chosen trades just because everybody's familiar with trades. So all my flooring is in one nice package, and I can very easily see that. So this is a takeoff. I'm not going to do a takeoff for you. I'm assuming most of you are familiar with it, but this will link directly to a cost database. So currently, let me just drag this out so we can make it bigger for everybody to see. This is showing all the items just within this one trade package. So I can click down into this information, and here's all my items that are within this package. I can drag these columns around to make them longer so we can see the names and see all the quantities, etc. And as I scroll across, I can see the other information that's provided in just these individual cost items. I can add some more options here. All right, so this is all information that's coming from 2D Takeoff, and these are all the items that are being used. So just to show you these items, I've got a retail flooring item as the description, but the actual items it's measuring here are these two, skirting and the actual polished floor itself. If I click onto this information, we can see a detailed takeoff, and we can get a little bit more information of exactly what's being taken off. Okay, just a little side point, we can also generate a nice takeoff legend from here. So this is using that exact same plan. This is just one click of a button. This generates me a nice printout of the plan with all its markups on it and all its quantities alongside the left with what that markup is referring to. Okay, we compare that. Actually, I will just show you just another package. So this is, again, this is within the same project, but I have just switched to a different package, and this is all my lighting. So I'm showing how all the packages are separate. We can estimate them separately, but at the end of this video, I'm going to show you how we can combine all these separate packages, both 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional, into a single estimate. So what we're achieving is having two different amount of data sets, a 2-dimensional and a 3D data set combined to give us a singular cost estimate. And just as another example, here's another printout with my quantities and a legend alongside of it. So we can very quickly pass these over to the people that need it. Moving on from the 2-dimensional takeoff, we go to the 3D takeoff. Now, this is really cool if you are lucky enough to be using 3D models. The estimating speed, in my opinion, is quite a lot quicker, depending on the power of the model. So what we're looking at here is I have just imported an architectural model of this building called Snowden Towers. What I'm wanting to do though is get down to some specific areas for some quick takeoff. So I can use this model browser here. I can click on these categories, which are all coming from the model itself. I haven't had to set this up. This is all in the design model, and I can select what I'm after. So in this case, I'm just going to look for my floors. It's going to pull out all my floors for me. I'm going to hide this model browser just for screen space, and I'm going to actually just see if I can shrink this up a bit as well. Just give me. But now here I've got a floor, my model has now been broken down just to show me my floors. There are some additional cool tricks I can do within here to make this a little easier to manage. For example, I can click this button and it just stacks everything up for me. If I wasn't filtered down just to floors, I would see stacks of doors, windows, everything else as well. But what this allows me to do, now I've already got all my takeoff items in here. These have come from a library, which I will touch on soon. But essentially, what this allows me to do is I can click on the items, I can select all of the items that are exactly the same, and then I can just assign them to a takeoff. These have already been assigned, so I can't do that for this example, but it's as simple as clicking this plus this tick button, and it will assign all these items that I've selected here to a measurement for an actual cost item that I've got from my library. Again, this also has the ability to, and I'll just expand this again to give you a little quantity check. We can add a cost here as well, but for this demonstration, there's no cost as they're all going to be done on the estimating side. So these are just showing us all the quantities that I've gotten within these items. Now I've got these grouped by a classification. You may choose to group these any other way you want. Just to show you an example, I'll just change this to takeoff type so we can kind of see how all the information is being shown to us across these two fields. Now, again, we haven't gotten to the estimating portion yet. This is still quantities. Okay, so I'll just close out of this. And again, I've got another example of takeoff here of a three-dimensional takeoff. Sorry, I'll just show you again. We can go to our plumbing fixtures as an example. Here's all my plumbing fixtures. I can hit this cluster button. It lines them all up for me nice and neatly. And now it's just a very quick process of me selecting all of these items and assigning them to the appropriate cost item in this left-hand side list here. So takeoff is very quick, especially with the 3D model. Okay, so that's the takeoff side of things. Now I'm going to just quickly touch on the library. So where is all this information coming from? And that's this database. It's called, we're going to call it a library. So in ACC, we can import all our individual cost items, materials into a database. This is an example of the database here. This was imported through an import template, which took seconds to import. So if you do have this data already in an import, in a Excel file somewhere, we can very quickly get this in. But basically, this just is a database of all our costs items. We can have our material costs, our labor, equipment, subcontractor, and other costs. Across the top, I can show you all the different options so we can see all these individual material, we can set and see these material unit prices, labor productivity, all this type of information can be stored within the database so that when you add it to an estimate, it's already there. So the cost will automatically come in. If you've got a wastage percent already factored in, it'll come in. If you're using your labor, for example, or you're a subcontractor in this example, if you're using labor or equipment, we can set up your productivity rates. So we've got the ability to create norms for your cost items and have them stored within a database so they don't need to be created every single time. We pair this item database with the cost database, which is where all our equipment, our labor types, you would have noticed we can have labor in our material items, but we can set up labor types so you can assign specific labor that's already been set up from its own personal database to those material items as well. So we've got an item database, we have equipment and labor, and also a crew database. So all these items link to one another. We can pull them into takeoff, and eventually we can push them into an estimate as well, so we can start getting a full cost breakdown of what this project is going to cost. Just staying within the library for the time being, we do have what's called in ACC classifications. ProS users might be more familiar with the term sort types. These do work a little differently, but it's the same kind of concept. We can import a structure that you want to assign your costs against. And just to show you an example of one I'm using, this is one I've imported, and it's just basically a way for me to tag all these items. So on a reporting level, on a cost level, I can say wrap all these items, show me all the general requirements items. And this allows us to also specifically target any margins or markups or anything like that. Filters, we can filter on these, we can report on these. So these are a very powerful tool that goes hand in hand with your takeoff and your estimating.
Nathan, if I could interrupt you there, for those of you who may have any questions, there is a Q&A panel that you can click on, and feel free to filter those questions in, and then we'll have a follow-up towards the end of the webinar. Nathan, with your knowledge of the database right now, and I'm talking to ProS customers, from your opinion, where does this sit in comparison to what the ProS customers have experienced?
Well, the big difference, in my opinion, is the lack of an assembly database. That's the big change. So ProS is heavily geared towards the use of assemblies, whereas ACC does have the capability to do that. The database is designed purely as an item by item basis. It's not an assembly database that you may be familiar with.
Yep.
Yep.
And is it possible to run ProS estimating and use ACC takeoff in parallel? Is that something that could be considered?
Yes, absolutely. So with the recently launched ProEst import into the estimate feature, you can absolutely, if you wanted to use takeoff in ACC as a quantity and then use ProEst estimating for your costs, or even vice versa, really, ProEst takeoff into ACC estimating too. So both ways can work. It's, yeah, I guess a case by case basis to determine which is the best option. Yeah. Okay, so moving on to the library, now we can get to the actual meat and potatoes of why everybody's here, which is the actual estimate itself. So this is the same estimate that we were just looking at the takeoffs for. So both the 2-dimensional and the 3D takeoffs are now being combined, and all the data that is in that takeoff is now sitting within this estimate. So all this information is sitting here. If I just scroll across, I can kind of show you the information that is sitting within this estimate. We've got all our totals for man hours, labor days, crew days. All that stuff is captured and reportable. If I click here and just scroll down here for everybody, we can kind of see all the other available fields to us that I'm not showing. We'll mention, you can see these classifications that I touched on earlier, so they are showing there. And so this is the estimate screen. So from here, we've got the ability to rejig the view on how we want to look at it. So I've got the way my estimate's currently set up, I have these options available to me. Location, for example, I know I've only got a ground floor, but that will kind of show me these are all the items within the ground floor, and these items I haven't assigned yet. So we can very easily filter our estimate with these options here. Something for ProEst users, I can have all the groupings I have available to me. There is no limit on these. ProEst users are limited to 2. And we can very easily rejig this. So it's the grouping is a lot more usable and friendlier in ACC as well. So I'll just get rid of all these groupings now, except for, I think I'll keep classification 1, just because that's got a good amount of information to kind of show how we can break out our estimates. So this is one structure. You as a company might use this structure, whereas a client may use another structure, and we can have them both imported, and it's just a matter of tagging the items appropriately using the 2 classifications. So classification 1 is my Cadgroup structure. Classification 2 could be your client structure of how your client wants this, any proposals to be presented to them. So we can just do that here. Here I can click on the items as well. So any item I can click on and kind of see some more back-end information. All this information is available in the columns, but you may prefer to see it here. All this can be overridden as well. So these quantities are coming from takeoff, but if I want to round them up or just modify them myself, I can. Got all the cost information here, so I can adjust all that here. Just as an example, put a 100 cost. I could put a productivity rate for this if I wanted to, or a factor. We're ordering it in lengths, but we're measuring it just in linear meters. That type of information can still be captured within in the estimating system. Now, if I just scroll back to the left here, I do want to show you that change that I made here is reflected. So even though this originally was coming from a takeoff quantity, I have manually updated it. But ACC will remember it as well. So at any time I can just say, actually, no, I've made a mistake here, and just revert it back to the takeoff quantity. Furthermore, we've got the markup section. So again, this is very similar to ProEst users. The only probably real difference is you no longer have the default 5 cost types up in the top. It's now completely customizable. So I have just created these 2 profit and overheads ones. We have the ability to create sections. We have the ability to create additional lines, and all the tools from ProEst remain. We can add margin, markup, lump sum. We can still compound off of previous markups. So everything that is in ProEst in this regard is still available. All the fields from ProEst are still in ACC. So in my mind, they've taken the best of ProEst and they're adding it here, and this will just continue to evolve into a genuinely good everything system. And that right there that's pretty much the end of me, Eric.
Yeah, thank you.
Open the floor to questions.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with the product coming into Autodesk Construction Cloud really in the last 30 days, the rate of development that I think we're going to see is going to be exciting. Next year looks quite amazing in the way that they've positioned the amount of updates and enhancements coming into the product. All right, I want to come back over and share my screen and talk about the overall solution and what the pre-construction module relates to the Autodesk Construction Cloud. So for those that are familiar with ACC or Autodesk Construction Cloud, historically it's been sold as ACC Build with a variety of project management, quality and safety forms, cost management. The design collaboration side has been in product for quite a few years. But what's really new is the pre-construction module here and the ability to now look at cost estimating. And as time goes on, in the very near future, the bidding and bid leveling and qualification side, the products TradeTap and BC Pro that Nathan touched on, those are all coming in product. The important thing, I guess, from a platform perspective is this is all connected data. So the administration and permissions, the mobile access, the document management, ACC Docs that underpins this, and the inbuilt reporting and BI tools, all of these are part of the Autodesk Construction Cloud. As time goes on, there's already a sprinkle of artificial intelligence built into the product, but Autodesk is going to really see some big movements in the AI agents they're introducing into platform going into next year. So that'll be exciting, particularly for estimators in the way of quickly accessing information and quantifying. I just want to double check. Everybody can see our screen okay? I'm getting a couple messages that you can't see screen. So can somebody give us a quick chat and make sure that you can see screen, all right? Nathan, you can see my screen okay?
Yes, I can see it fine.
Okay. All right. A couple of questions filtering in. Let me just go on to a couple other points. So a couple highlights that are in product now is the ability to aggregate the 2D and 3D quantities. As Nathan showed, there's an inventory registry that hyperlinks the quantity to the drawing or model, and then being able to set up classifications or take off packages that allow that to roll up in whatever kind of reporting structure you want. So that's in product now, something that can be used today with the pre-construction module. Other points we've gone over today is the detailed cost estimating side. As Nathan's shown, it's supported by a library that globally sits across Autodesk Construction Cloud with a registry of labor, materials, and crews. and that is available in product now. And the linkage between takeoff and estimating and the way that you can quantify and push those quantities into estimate, those are things that ProS customers typically use, and that's available and in product. What's in beta currently on the estimating side is Autodesk has been working on the carbon accounting or quantification, so that as you measure certain elements, it's going to calculate carbon and give a quantity calculation broken up by whatever reporting structures that you want. So if there's any interest in this side of the product, we surely can support the access to that beta. All right, so I thought it might be good to just pull back a little bit and look at what companies are doing right now. For those businesses that are looking at connecting workflows and getting into what we consider a common data environment, our focus has been in the middle of the screen, which is in takeoff and estimating. We've touched a little bit on tender management at the top, but you can see that those two hero products are really around the whole ecosystem of Autodesk Construction Cloud. Right to the right, the document management side and how that supports the takeoff and estimating and tender management side. These three products, along with the reporting insights and integration to BI, those are all part of the pre-construction solution today. For those businesses that have design or have an interest in working with three-dimensional models, introducing Autodesk products into the quantification is a part of the solution today, but it also will work with IFC models and using those IFC models to quantify, so you don't necessarily have to have Autodesk design software to use the takeoff solution. And as you compile all these interconnected workflows, tying that into the project management and cost management, so you have a direct relationship to quantification, documentation, cost estimating into project management, job costing, and how that then plays into possibly a tender management process that you're qualifying the subcontractors, putting out a request for pricing, evaluating, soft awarding those subcontract pricing, and moving that directly into the budgeting and cost management side of ACC. So a lot of it will depend on the type of business that you're working with, how your estimating processes have worked with historically, and what you can do within the pre-construction solution today to help optimize what your daily efforts and workflows are, and then continue to explore what Autodesk can do within that common data environment. All right, so we've covered a lot of information. I thought I'd get into some of the questions that may have come in. Let's have a look. If there's no more questions, thank you so much for joining us, and really looking forward to meeting up with some masterclasses and some live presentations of Autodesk pre-construction going into next year. For all of you having the last day of Friday, have a great Christmas and start to the new year. And from the Cadgroup CAD Pro team, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.